The Intergalactic Council meeting commenced, as usual, with a vigorous debate concerning the provided refreshments. The Hurak delegation insisted on beverages served at the precise molecular temperature, while the Zindric ambassador argued that anything above freezing was an affront to good taste. Amidst this disarray, Claflin Maxp, of the Council of Universal Civilizations, massaged his temples wearily. "I can't believe we're having this discussion again," he muttered, casting a pointed look at the gathered representatives. "Can we please concentrate? The topic is humans." A sudden hush fell over the room, the only noise the gentle whir of the ventilation system fighting a losing battle against the combined aroma of alien anxieties and peculiar snacks. Yes, the Deathworlders," rumbled Ambassador THM of the Bal Collective, his voice a low growl akin to dueling refrigerators. "They've been unusually quiet recently," hissed Lady Japra of the Ethic Domain, dabbing delicately at her venom sacs. "That species is never quiet unless they're plotting," she added, her tone conveying centuries of suspicion. A three-headed delegate from the Vex Continuum barked, "They maintain a veneer of civility, but we all know it's a charade. I mean, they have a sport called rugby. What kind of being observes Mortal Kombat and decides to make it a leisure activity?" The room exploded in a chorus of agreement, disagreements, and a resounding burp from the Andran ambassador, who declared it a customary display of esteem. Claflin slammed a tentacle on the table, his patience wearing remarkably thin. "Enough!" The room quieted, although a few delegates appeared slightly offended at their mid-rant interruptions. "We've discussed humanity's unusual traits for decades, but today, we require action. They claim to be peaceful, but does anyone truly believe that? Their history is a continuous cycle of conflicts, explosions, and those bizarre competitions involving the consumption of copious amounts of hot dogs." A low murmur of assent spread through the assembled representatives. "They call their planet Earth," Claflin continued, his voice laced with disbelief, "but its proper designation is Death World. Toxic plants, predatory fauna, weather patterns that seem intent on annihilation, and yet, here they are, flourishing." "Flourishing," snorted an ambassador whose name defied easy pronunciation, but loosely translated to Steve. "They're perpetually teetering on the brink of self-annihilation. Did you see that device they constructed? The Large Hadron Collider? They literally smash particles together and simply hope for a positive outcome." Claflin sighed. "Which is precisely why we're dispatching an emissary to Earth." The room went still. Several delegates instinctively ducked, anticipating immediate reprisal in the form of an orbital strike. "You're sending someone to Earth?" Lady Japra squeaked. "Have you lost your mind?" "I volunteered," piped up Glorp Thelonious, raising a short, stubby arm. Glorp was a gelatinous being whose naivete was matched only by his boundless enthusiasm for what he termed cultural exchange. "Of course you did," Claflin muttered under his breath. Then, louder, Ambassador Thelonious has graciously consented to investigate humanity's claims of civility. His assignment is to ascertain whether they are a peaceful, advanced society or a ticking cosmic time bomb. "Or both," Threek Mong muttered darkly. "And how do you anticipate learning this?" snapped Lady Japra. "Humans are deceitful, it's practically their national pastime." "They also tend to overshare," Glorp countered cheerfully. "It's evident in all their broadcasts. I've already watched 37 seasons of a program called Survivor, and let me assure you, their strategic ingenuity is astonishing." Claflin rubbed his temples again. "Just observe. Don't provoke them. And for the sake of everything luminous, don't bring back any of their souvenirs." The meeting concluded with a mixture of reluctant consent and barely concealed apprehension. As Glorp oozed from the council chamber, humming an Earth tune he'd picked up, Bohemian Rhapsody, the other ambassadors exchanged anxious glances. "I give him a week," THM said. 3 days, Steve countered. Lady Japra narrowed her eyes. "He'll be fortunate to survive an hour." Far away, on the planet in question, a human named Maggie was explaining to her neighbor why pineapple on pizza was an abomination. Little did she know, an intergalactic visitor was about to arrive, and nothing would ever be quite the same. "You're sending someone to Earth?" Lady Japra's voice was barely a whisper, laced with disbelief. "Are you out of your senses?" "I volunteered." Glorp Thelonius's eager voice cut through the tension, his stubby arm raised high. Glorp, a gelatinous being of unwavering optimism, was known for his almost reckless enthusiasm for what he termed interspecies cultural immersion. Claflin, suppressing a sigh, muttered under his breath, "Naturally." Then, addressing the council, he announced, "Ambassador Thelonius has generously offered to assess humanity's supposed civility. His task is to determine if they are a genuinely peaceful, technologically advanced civilization, or a potential threat to the universe." Threekmong, ever the pessimist, added darkly, "Or perhaps, both." Lady Japra, skeptical as ever, snapped, "And how precisely do you intend to gather this information?" "Humans are masters of deception, it's practically woven into their cultural fabric." "They also tend to divulge an excessive amount of information," Glorp countered brightly. "Their media broadcasts are a testament to this. I've already viewed 37 seasons of a program they call Survivor, and their capacity for strategic thinking is quite impressive, if I may say so myself." Claflin, massaging his temples with a weary sigh, instructed, "Just observe. Avoid any provocation. And for the love of all that shines, refrain from acquiring any of their local artifacts." The meeting concluded with a blend of hesitant agreement and palpable anxiety. As Glorp flowed out of the council chamber, humming a catchy earth melody he'd picked up, Bohemian Rhapsody, the remaining ambassadors exchanged uneasy glances. "I predict he'll last a week, at most," THM rumbled. 3 days, Steve countered, ever the pragmatist. Lady Japra, narrowing her eyes, delivered her grim prediction, he'd be lucky to escape with his life for a single hour. Meanwhile, many light years away, on the very planet under discussion, a human named Maggie was passionately explaining to her neighbor the absolute heresy of pineapple as a pizza topping. Completely unaware, she was about to have an unexpected visitor from another galaxy, an encounter that would irrevocably alter the course of her otherwise ordinary existence. Glorp Thelonius touched down on Earth with the unbridled excitement of a space tourist who accidentally booked a trip to an erupting volcano and decided to embrace the experience. His landing, intended to be as unobtrusive as possible, nevertheless resulted in a small crater forming in a suburban park in Iowa, conveniently located between a hot dog stand and a group of teenagers attempting, with varying degrees of success, to master the art of skateboarding. The teens barely registered his arrival, their attention glued to their phones. "Dude, is that an alien?" one mumbled, mid-scroll. "Nah," another replied without looking up. "Probably just some marketing stunt for the next Marvel movie." Glorp, eager to make a positive first impression, unfurled a banner meant to symbolize intergalactic peace, which unfortunately resembled a biohazard warning sign. The hot dog vendor, squinting at the unusual sight, muttered something about government conspiracies and promptly returned to serving a suspiciously grey sausage to a customer who was clearly old enough to make better dietary choices. Undeterred, Glorp activated his translator, a bulky headset that gave him the appearance of an interdimensional call center employee, and approached a woman sitting on a nearby bench. She was consuming a sandwich with the intense focus one might reserve for solving complex mathematical equations. "Greetings," Glorp announced, his voice a friendly gurgle. "I am Ambassador Thelonius, representing the Council of Universal Civilizations. I have journeyed here to observe your world and learn about your customs." The woman, whose name was Deb, a moniker as unremarkable as her demeanor, blinked at him slowly. She took another bite of her sandwich, chewed thoughtfully, and finally offered a single word, "Cool." Glorp's translator word uncertainly, repeating, "Cool," with a faint inflection of a question mark, as if unsure whether it had been subjected to an insult. Deb shrugged. "Yeah, cool. Just don't park in the bike lane." And with that, she dismissed him, returning to her sandwich. Glorp, undeterred by Deb's nonchalant reception, embarked on his mission to understand human civilization. Over the next few hours, he wandered through the town, meticulously documenting his observations of what he perceived to be the intricacies of human culture. He noted their apparent reliance on a complex language of car horn honks, their remarkable ability to engage in heated debates about practically anything, including the ideal temperature of iced coffee, and their seemingly unwavering acceptance of infrastructure held together by duct tape and sheer willpower. Glorp, undeterred by Deb's indifferent dismissal, continued his quest to decipher the enigma of human civilization. He spent the next few hours meandering through the town, diligently recording his observations of what he considered to be the complex subtleties of human culture. He meticulously documented their apparent dependence on an elaborate system of communication based on car horn honking, their astonishing capacity for engaging in passionate disputes about virtually any topic imaginable, from the optimal temperature of iced coffee to the merits of different laundry detergents, and their seemingly unshakable tolerance for public infrastructure that appeared to be precariously maintained with duct tape and optimistic hopes. At one point during his explorations, Glorp encountered a group of humans engaged in what he initially mistook for a ritualistic dance. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was a yoga class being held in the park. Intrigued, he approached a man precariously balanced in a pose his translator identified as a downward-facing dog and inquired, "What is the purpose of this activity?" The man, perspiring profusely, replied through gritted teeth, "Trying to align my chakras." Glorp, tilting his gelatinous head in confusion, asked, "And why is that necessary?" The man, with an air of weary resignation, simply stated, "So I don't kill my boss," before promptly collapsing onto his mat. Glorp dutifully recorded this encounter as evidence that humans had developed sophisticated techniques for controlling their primal urges. His next stop was a local grocery store, where he witnessed the baffling phenomenon of self-checkout. Watching humans repeatedly struggle to scan their own groceries proved to be a source of amusement, even for a being without a skeletal structure. One man loudly proclaimed that he could build a rocket ship in his garage, but couldn't comprehend why the automated checkout machine refused to accept his coupon for a discount on frozen waffles. The pinnacle of Glorp's observational experiences, however, occurred at a drive-through restaurant. He had recently discovered the concept of fast food and was impressed by its apparent efficiency, until the car ahead of him inexplicably spent an unreasonable amount of time deliberating between a cheeseburger and chicken nuggets. Glorp noted this as a potential flaw in the human decision-making process. Throughout his day, Glorp maintained his optimistic outlook, although it was beginning to show signs of wear. He found it difficult to reconcile the chaotic nature of human behavior with their remarkable ability to somehow make things work, despite the apparent dysfunction. Their roads were riddled with potholes and presented a constant danger, yet they managed to avoid colliding with each other most of the time. Their conversations were often punctuated with insults and disagreements, yet these same individuals would fiercely defend each other against criticism from outsiders. It was as if their entire culture was founded on a paradoxical blend of amicable hostility. As evening approached, Glorp decided to take a break and process his findings. He found a park bench and watched as the sky transformed into a vibrant display of orange and purple hues. Nearby, a group of children were playing a game that involved throwing a ball at each other with what Glorp considered an excessive amount of enthusiasm. He tapped his translator and recorded his observation. Despite clear indications of irrational behavior, humans demonstrate a remarkable ability to function as a society. Further observation is required to determine whether this is due to luck, skill, or divine intervention. As the first stars began to appear, Glorp couldn't help but feel a flicker of admiration for this strange species. They were messy, loud, and prone to existential crises over pizza toppings, yet they were also endlessly inventive and remarkably resilient. Perhaps they are not so bad after all, he mused. Just then, a frisbee struck him squarely in the face. "Sorry," shouted a child from across the field. Glorp sighed. Or maybe they are. Glorp's second day on Earth commenced with a renewed sense of optimism. Armed with his notepad, his trusty translator, and a faint glimmer of hope that humans might eventually demonstrate a degree of order amidst their apparent chaos, he ventured out to observe a location of structured social interaction, a coffee shop. The establishment was a hive of activity, with individuals queuing for their caffeine fix with the same zeal that ancient warriors might have displayed before a battle. Glorp squeezed himself into the line, a remarkable accomplishment given his amorphous form, and began documenting the proceedings. Humans, it appeared, possessed an boundless creativity when it came to customizing their beverages. One individual requested a half-calf oat milk latte with 2 pumps of caramel, extra foam, and a dusting of cinnamon. Another insisted on an Americano, but with the peculiar caveat, could you just, give the espresso machine a pep talk? Thanks. When it was Glorp's turn, he ordered hot water with a side of existential enlightenment. The barista, seemingly unfazed, handed him a cup of steaming water and stated, "That'll be $2.75. As Glorp sipped his overpriced hot water, a disturbance erupted near the order pickup counter. A man, later identified as Jerry, had received a beverage that was not, apparently, the precise temperature of a Bahamian afternoon in July. Jerry voiced his discontentment loudly. "I requested 140 degrees. This is 141, at best," he exclaimed, brandishing the offending cup like a medieval weapon. Another patron, a woman in a business suit, intervened. "Can you keep it down? Some of us have jobs," she stated impatiently. Jerry turned on her. "Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. Didn't realize you owned the place." "It's Deborah," she shrieked, her voice filled with a primal fury that caused several nearby customers to seek cover. Glorp watched with mounting apprehension as the verbal sparring escalated. Sides were quickly chosen, some supporting Jerry's pursuit of beverage perfection, others rallying behind Deborah's campaign for efficiency. A third faction, self-proclaimed neutral observers, began selling popcorn to the onlookers. What began as a minor disagreement rapidly devolved into what Glorp's translator labeled a spontaneous socio-political conflict. The manager attempted to intervene, but his offer of free pastries as a peace offering only resulted in a physical altercation over croissants. Glorp took refuge under a table, clutching his notepad. "Fascinating," he whispered to himself. A species capable of nuclear technology yet completely undone by minor inconveniences. Remarkable. The chaos spilled out onto the street, where unsuspecting pedestrians were drawn into the fray, joining in the argument without even knowing its origin. A cyclist yelled, "It's called a bike lane," at a delivery driver, who retorted by honking his horn and shouting, "Get a real vehicle." Within an hour, the entire town was embroiled in the conflict. The mayor issued a call for calm, but her speech quickly deteriorated into a shouting match with a local baker regarding the true definition of sourdough bread. News crews arrived on the scene only to become entangled in debates about which network provided the most accurate coverage of the unfolding events. Meanwhile, Glorp struggled to comprehend the spectacle he was witnessing. Translator note: humans exhibit a unique phenomenon wherein minor disputes escalate into mass hysteria. Potential explanation: underlying cultural predilection for dramatic displays. However, as the day progressed, a subtle shift occurred. Amidst the shouting and general pandemonium, Glorp observed fleeting moments of unexpected unity. A group of strangers collaborated to right an overturned hot dog cart. Two former adversaries paused their argument to rescue a cat from a tree. Even Jerry and Deborah, mid-shriek, stopped to assist a child who had fallen off their scooter. It was as if humans, despite their propensity for chaos, couldn't resist the urge to cooperate when it truly mattered. They fought like warring tribes, yet their instinct to help one another emerged in the most unexpected circumstances. By evening, an uneasy calm had returned to the town. People brushed themselves off, muttered half-hearted apologies, and dispersed. Jerry, now sipping his perfectly heated latte, gave Deborah a sheepish nod. "Good coffee," he conceded. She smirked. "Yeah, it's decent." Glorp, still huddled under the table, recorded his final thoughts on the day's events. Humans appear incapable of maintaining their facade of civility under duress. However, beneath the surface lies a complex social network fueled by adaptability, cooperation, and caffeine. Further study required. As he slithered away, a reporter stopped him. "Hey, were you here for the whole thing? Got any comments?" Glorp considered for a moment. "Your civilization is a marvel," he said diplomatically. The reporter raised an eyebrow. "That good, huh?" "Oh, no," Glorp replied, already moving towards the horizon. "Not good. Just fascinating." Glorp's report to the Intergalactic Council began with a holographic display of Earth's daily happenings. The assembled council members leaned in, their expressions a mixture of intrigue and utter bewilderment. This is their morning television, Glorp explained, showcasing a segment where humans debated whether cereal qualified as a soup. Note the profound intellectual depth of their discourse. A collective groan echoed through the chamber. Ambassador THM, impatient as ever, boomed, Ambassador Thelonious. Lady Japra, still harboring resentment towards humans for their tendency to name pets after Earth's predators like tiger and wolf, added, get to the point. Are they civilized or not? Glorp paused. The concept of civilization had proven elusive, a notion he hadn't truly grasped until his third visit to an Earth drive-thru, where his request for something not weird had resulted in an unholy fusion of cheeseburger and fried chicken within the same bun. It was both repulsive and strangely appealing. Well, he began cautiously, human civilization functions differently from others within the galactic community. Their methods are unconventional. Unconventional how? Threek Mong demanded, still holding a grudge against humanity for the invention of dubstep. Glorp gestured towards the hologram, which now displayed scenes of humans engaged in various levels of conflict, road rage, family gatherings, political debates. They appear to flourish on a precarious balance of cooperation and antagonism. Their bonds are formed through shared adversity, their innovations born of pure tenacity. It's as if their entire society is founded on a dare. Preposterous, scoffed an ambassador whose species had once initiated a war over the misuse of commas in interstellar treaties. Observe, Glorp countered, displaying a clip of a human assembling flat-pack furniture. The human's face was contorted in frustration as they attempted to decipher instructions written in 14 languages, none of which were remotely comprehensible. Yet, against all odds, they prevailed. This exemplifies their approach to everything, Glorp explained. Their world is hostile, their tools inefficient, and their patience shorter than their lunch breaks. But somehow, they manage to persevere. The council murmured amongst themselves. Lady Japra sneered, and what of this so-called collaboration? The footage you presented, humans squabbling over coffee temperature, hardly inspires confidence. Glorp nodded. Yes, they argue incessantly about practically everything. But consider this, regardless of the intensity of their disagreements, they invariably arrive at a solution. It may be chaotic, but it's effective. When a building collapses, they rebuild. When a system malfunctions, they patch it together with duct tape and ingenuity. Their resilience is unparalleled. THM grunted. You speak of resilience, but what of their inclination towards destruction? These are beings who invented nuclear weapons before mastering basic recycling. The hologram shifted to footage of humans responding to natural disasters, spontaneously forming rescue teams and distributing supplies with an efficiency that defied logic. They may be destructive, Glorp conceded, but they also possess profound empathy. When confronted with catastrophe, they unite. Their instinct to assist one another transcends even their most self-destructive tendencies. He continued, I've witnessed a species that thrives in chaos, not in spite of it, but because of it. For a moment, the chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the holographic projector. So, Claflin stated finally, you're suggesting humans are not civilized? No, Glorp replied. I'm saying their civilization doesn't resemble ours. It's raw, unrefined, and often absurd. But it functions. Humanity is a species that constructs sandcastles during a hurricane and then laughs when the tide washes them away. They are remarkable. The council's deliberations continued to reverberate through the chamber, a cacophony of alien voices expressing a mixture of apprehension and fascination. Some delegates were frankly terrified by Glorp's account, envisioning hordes of hot dog-wielding humans descending upon their meticulously ordered societies. Others, however, found a strange appeal in humanity's chaotic resilience, a certain charm in their ability to create beauty from bedlam. A few even pondered the strategic advantages of having such unpredictable allies, or perhaps equally entertaining adversaries. Amidst the escalating arguments, Glorp quietly excused himself. He'd heard enough. Councils, in his experience, could debate for eons without reaching a meaningful conclusion. The true answer, he realized, wasn't to be found in their sterile deliberations, but in the vibrant, messy, gloriously absurd reality of Earth itself. Unnoticed, he slipped out of the chamber and made his way to his personal shuttle. Destination? Inquired the onboard navigation system, its synthetic voice calm and efficient. Earth, Glorp replied, his tone firm and unwavering. The navigation system hesitated, perhaps double-checking its programming, then issued a cautious warning, alert, returning to Earth may result in unpredictable and potentially hazardous situations. Just go, Glorp interjected, giving the dashboard a gentle pat. Within moments, his shuttle was hurtling through the vast expanse of space, once again on a course for the chaotic planet that had captured his imagination. He landed back in the same Iowa park where his extraordinary journey had begun. The hot dog stand was gone, replaced by a lemonade stand operated by two enterprising children who appeared to be in the midst of a spirited discussion regarding profit margins. Nearby, a man was patiently attempting to teach his dog to ride a skateboard, the endeavor proving to be a comical display of misplaced optimism. Glorp felt a wave of relief wash over him. This chaos, this vibrant tapestry of human absurdity, was strangely comforting, almost familiar. He wandered through the park, observing the human interactions with a newfound understanding. On a nearby bench, he spotted Deborah, the sandwich aficionado he had encountered on his first day. She was now consuming a pretzel the size of her head, seemingly unfazed by its sheer magnitude. Back already? She inquired without looking up, her tone casual and unsurprised. Yes, Glorp replied, settling down beside her. I had to see it again. See, all this. He gestured vaguely towards the surrounding park, as if the chaotic scene somehow explained itself. Deborah nodded sagely, as if she completely understood. Yeah, she said with a knowing smirk, we're a trip. Glorp's translator word uncertainly, eventually settling on the phrase, we are an interstellar voyage, which, he thought, seemed oddly fitting. Suddenly, a commotion erupted nearby. A man in a business suit dropped his phone, which triggered a bizarre chain reaction of mishaps. A cyclist swerved to avoid the falling phone, colliding with a food cart, which promptly overturned, sending a cascade of pretzels onto a passing jogger. The jogger, now covered in mustard and indignation, began yelling at the cyclist, who, in turn, brandished a bagel like a defensive weapon. Within seconds, a small crowd had gathered, each bystander offering their unsolicited opinion on the unfolding drama. Oh no, Glorp murmured, a sense of déjà vu washing over him. It's happening again. Relax, Deborah said calmly, breaking off a piece of her giant pretzel. Give it a minute. True to her prediction, the chaos began to dissipate as quickly as it had begun. The jogger, after receiving a complimentary soda from the apologetic food cart owner, started laughing about the incident. The cyclist, overcome with remorse, offered to pay for any damages. Even the man in the suit, having miraculously recovered his unharmed phone, declared it a sign from the universe before cheerfully heading off to buy lemonade. Glorp blinked, bewildered by the rapid shift in mood. How? He began to ask. We're like cats, Deborah explained with a shrug. We fight, we hiss, we knock things over, but eventually, we figure it out. Glorp nodded slowly, the pieces of the puzzle finally clicking into place. That was it. That was humanity. They didn't strive for perfection or order. They thrived in the in-between spaces, in the mishaps and misunderstandings. Their ability to adapt, to laugh at the absurdity of it all, that was what made them truly extraordinary. Translator note, Glorp whispered, pulling out his recorder. Humans are not a paradox, they are a process. Their strength lies not in avoiding chaos, but in embracing it. Recommend further study, and possibly a vacation. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink, Glorp realized that he wasn't just observing humanity anymore. He was beginning to understand it, to appreciate its unique, chaotic beauty. Want a pretzel? Deborah offered, holding out the remains of her gargantuan snack. Glorp hesitated for a moment. Does it bite? He asked cautiously. Deborah laughed, a sound so genuinely human, so full of life, that it almost sounded like music. Only if you don't eat it fast enough, she replied. Glorp accepted the pretzel, his gelatinous appendage wobbling slightly as he took a bite. It tasted salty, overly dense, and utterly delightful. For the first time in his long and meticulous career, Glorb didn't bother recording his thoughts. Instead, he sat back, watched the humans go about their chaotic lives, and simply enjoyed the spectacle.